Back, a chartered flight from Pune to Bangkok was just passing over Sri Vijayapuram, Andaman and Nicobar Islands when an unexpected phone call made the flight turn midair to go back to Pune. The incident took place on the 10th of Feb with former Maharashtra Minister and Shiv Sena member Tanaji Savant's 32-year-old son Rushiraj Savant on board. Rushiraj Savant had reportedly booked a private chartered plane along with two of his friends for what he termed as a business trip, but hid the trip from his family, fearing disapproval. Rushiraj's family grew increasingly worried as they found out that he had left for the airport without informing them and approached the police. Meanwhile, an anonymous caller informed Pune police that Rushiraj had been kidnapped and taken away in a swift car, with Tanaji Savant frantically ringing top officials like Devendra Fadnavis and the Pune Police Commissioner. The flight was eventually ordered to return to Pune due to the ongoing kidnapping investigation. The flight turned around after the pilots received verification from the Ministry of Civil Aviation, but did so without informing the passengers to avoid a ruckus, switching off the in-flight navigation screens. When the flight re-landed in Pune, Rushiraj and his friends were taken by surprise and began an argument before the CISF personnel boarded and escorted them out. As Rushiraj and his friends gave their statements to the police, the opposition attacked the Savant family over what they called heavy misuse of state machinery. Well, we'll talk about this and a lot more. ACP Dhanraj Vanjari, former police officer, joins us on the show. Surjit Panesar, aviation expert, is with us on the program as well. Mr. KV Dhananjay, senior advocate, joins us on the program as well. Last but not the least, Ashwini Dubey, advocate on record, Supreme Court, also with us on the broadcast. Ashwini, I'll begin with you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Vinit,
all right,
I can hear.
Ashwini, what do you make of this case? This is obviously a misuse of official state machinery, and let me tell you, the chartering of this flight to and fro from Thailand had a cost of about 75 lakh of rupees for 3 people flying. Now that is a dent on the exchequer, but at the same time it does expose the underbelly with which perhaps a lot of citizens like you and me are not familiar with.
Yes, Vinit bhai, it's a complete abuse and misuse of power. Why? On the one hand, had it been the case of a normal individual like you and me, if you had gone to lodge a complaint of mobile theft, the police would not have registered it for 24 hours. In a case when a former minister reaches to the police station, files a complaint, immediately the kidnapping case is registered, and he's also giving a tip. Immediately it is informed to the chartered flight, the pilot. Pilot is returning it back. It is a misuse of power. We would appreciate the decision taken by the pilot that yes, he did the right thing. That the intimation which was given to him, that was that the kidnapper, somebody is kidnapped. So, but the misuse of authority at the behest of Mr. Tanaji shows that still we are living an era where the masters always manipulate, the abuse, they turn the provisions of Indian Penal Code, now BNS, for their own welfare. It's not a state where taking into action. It is the state patronizing. The provisions of BNS are patronized at the behest of a politician for personal gain. People go to the police station, they register the FIR of missing. Here is the case when politicians reach to the police station having a complete knowledge that they are flying to the Thailand for 75 lakhs. 25 lakhs, of course, a young boy, where from he will earn? He would have used money of his father. Maybe earned from the business ethics or whatever it is, I'm not going to that. But it's a political power which is the abuse. Machinery is abuse. The provisions are the state-sponsored offences are being registered. So lawlessness. It's a case, Vinit bhai, where the action should follow against the father also for lodging a vague complaint. And why this is happening? That's a regions based. This belongs to a political thing. Earlier, you remember, 2 people were killed in the same Pune, and within 24 hours, the juvenile court granted bail. Even the public prosecutor did not protested against the bail. That look, he was in drunk driving. He was not having the driving license to run the vehicle, to ply the vehicle. He was running in 200 kilometers per hour. But immediately it was given. But people like you and me then when raised this at a larger forum, then only bail was cancelled. So isn't it the misuse of power? You remember the Praful Patel when he was the Civil Aviation Minister? Flight was delayed for his reasons. And if a normal person goes to the police station, lodge the FIR, police तो कहीं की FIR करती नहीं है. So there has to be a check and balance. And if it is abuse of power, then of course the abuser should also be taken to the task. Over to you, Vinit Bhai.
Absolutely, good points. Mr. Dhananjay, what is your impression of this case? 75 lakh rupees for a chartered flight to go to Thailand and then lie about it and then pull up all state resources and machinery, to bring them back, and that too over a fake phone call. Seems pretty ridiculous to me.
It is, of course, very ridiculous. 75 lakhs, I do not think the Exchequer will foot this bill because the ones who went there were not cabinet members or so. I'm somewhat familiar with the kind of spending that's permitted when the government servants or public servants travel. So that I don't think would be a burden on the Exchequer. It is obviously some private money. But
Well, even if it is
really
private money,
baffling
sir,
here
it does raise
when
a lot of question.
it certainly might raise questions as to the spending by a public servant or, under the laws, the anti-corruption laws in this country are such that every state has a Lokayukta, and most ideally, the Lokayukta for Maharashtra should be wanting to look into the, annual returns filed by these politicians in their, in their capacity as MLAs, and find out if they really, did have a resource of this extent to splurge. So Jayalalitha, for your information, was in fact convicted for 4.5 years because she was not able to explain part of her wealth. So what is baffling here is, and what also we should be slightly worried about is the ATC, telling a private jet that's on the air, that's gone all the way up to Andaman to return. I would think that the manifest here was that this would be a one-way flight first, and they would spend some time there, and then the jet would take the permission of the ATC to return. So this was an unscheduled one, and the way the airlines operate, the ATC programs is such that if there is going to be an unexpected jet in the air, so that would create trouble. I don't think the news would be reflecting that part. It's entirely possible the ATC was horrified to some extent because now you have an emergent return, and which means they have to somehow modify the manifest for other airlines and other jets. It's possible there was some jet that certainly wanted airspace to ferry a person in emergency, in medical emergency. So we have to be worried about that. And, there is this police, Maharashtra police, which obviously doesn't seem to really know how and in what circumstances they must trigger an emergency. Because what just happened is an extraordinary event, and there should be consequences, which means it matters not which party this politician is from. What matters is that the one who may lodged a false complaint be booked under the law. And, it's a very serious offense to lodge a false complaint, false complaint, which in this case had drastic consequences. And it's equally important to, nail the officers in the police department who might not have acted with the required seriousness in a matter of this nature, because you don't lightly go tell the ATC that they should put a request for a flight midair to return, because that's an extraordinary event, unless and until there was a pressing emergency, and somebody should take responsibility for giving a call of that nature. So there are too many issues here that need to be dealt with. And the other aspect, I think, on a social level is why these people really had issues about going to Bangkok. I was in Bangkok in December, and I'm quite surprised that anybody would feel ashamed in saying that they went to Bangkok. It's a wonderful place, and the malls that I did go to, there's so much of luxury shopping over there, and there is also budget shopping. And so many of the malls that I did visit, I didn't really see many Indians, but I do know that so many Indians do go to Bangkok regularly. So it's important for us to also know that there are things that Bangkok offers which so many malls in India don't. You have a Louis Vuitton, there are 6 or 8 high-end malls, and all of them have Louis Vuitton. There are, and I don't think there is any city in this country has that many Louis Vuitton shops. You take Bangalore, there's only one Louis Vuitton shop for whole of Karnataka, and I don't think there's any other Louis Vuitton shop anywhere, a store anywhere in South India. you have something like 25 Louis Vuitton stores in Bangkok. So I think whatever kind of mindset that these people suffer from probably was coming from the 1980s or 90s. Bangkok has transformed. Thailand has transformed. And I was reading Economist, I think 2 months ago. They were pointing out that more Indians now see Bangkok as better value than Goa because of the ridiculous increase in domestic airfares, and then the fact that the five-star hotels in Goa charge a bomb, whereas five-star hotels in Bangkok, will mostly the average price there is about 5 or 6,000. So it's important also for people to understand that Bangkok is not it was a long time ago, and probably the Thai ministry might want to take this an occasion to highlight, the positive aspects of their place. And I think we also need to look at that. And there's, the 6 or 7 malls that I did visit, they were all together. There are 2 Hermes stores. There's no Hermes store anywhere in South India. There's only one in Delhi, the other one in Mumbai. So we also must note that international retailers, luxury retailers, think that Bangkok is a much more desirable place to operate in than the whole of India, which is the second largest country in the world. And it would be too rich for us to look down on Bangkok, or for that matter, Thailand, and say, oh God, we just can't be afford. I mean, we can't afford to tell people that we are on the way to Bangkok. So I think, that's a mindset, which of course has nothing to do with the law. It's obviously a social mindset that also deserves to be looked into and perhaps corrected. I think people should not have such inhibitions about saying that they did go there. I mean, there are conventions. I went there for a convention in December, and I think there's another convention in March that I would want to go to. It's a place with great style, luxury, and it's in fact a wonderful place to go there with family. With the flight that I went in was jam packed, and I could
Okay,
only
all
see
right, sir.
families.
I get your point, sir. I get your point. Let me also rope in Mr. Surjit Panesar, aviation expert, into this. Mr. Panesar, have you seen something like this, in your history, in your career as an aviation expert, where a flight has been turned around because it was possible to do so because you wielded so much power?
Well, Vineet, there are a few aspects of this case. First of all, in the high technological atmosphere where the IT is very much advanced, we must find out the motive of the caller who gave anonymous call that the kids have been hijacked. This is number one issue. Number two, when the aircraft are flying over Andaman Nicobar and they got anonymous call, it is the right decision by the pilots to divert. The only thing, they should have landed back at the nearest airport as soon as possible instead of flying back to Pune. Now, once they have returned back to Pune, there are many issues which will come up for investigation. And since the police has taken over the case, they will definitely find out how the money was paid, from where the money came, and how the flight was arranged to this place, and how much time they have to involve in them. Bangkok is a place where people like to visit for holidaying. It's a very good place to visit for holidaying, sightseeing, and all that. So if these children have planned, is there any political motive behind this issue? We don't know. It's only the investigation by the police, which are going to investigate. They're going to find out the name of the caller who gave anonymous call, and the father of the person who was influential. He rang up the ATC, and with the influence, he called the aircraft back to Pune. But from Port Blair to Pune is a long distance. Then he could have landed at Calcutta or Vizag or the nearest airport. It could be any other attitude beyond hijacking also. The pilots seem to return, DGCA permitting them to Pune. I think they should have told them to land at the nearest airport as early as possible. Because you don't know what is the motive of the caller and what they have done on board the aircraft. They could have placed a bomb or anything. We don't know. Only the investigation team, which police has taken over, they'll find out all the facts. How these people planned this flight without the knowledge of the father, how the money was paid, how many people, the immigration comes in between, all security agencies are involved. And I think the best thing is, let's wait for the investigation by the police. They will come out with all the facts. And we must find out the basic cause, who gave an anonymous call, who was that person, what was his motive, and then his father's influence, they called the aircraft back. And the DGCA should have directed the pilot to land as soon as possible at the nearest airport. Phuket was the alternate. They could have gone to Phuket or 30-40 minutes from Port Blair. Because Phuket used to be our alternative when you used to fly from Madras or Calcutta to Port Blair. Phuket was the alternative airport. in case of bad weather, and they could have landed at Phuket, because the idea is to land as soon as possible for the reasons of safety and security. Then the other agency will come forward and they'll investigate, and I think we should wait for the report of the police. They are very intelligent, they will investigate all the reasons behind this case and all that. This is my opinion.
Ashwini, in terms of laws that may have been transgressed as a result of this escapade, what do you think the police can do? Leave aside the power quotient present here.
First, Vineet bhai, I would say the DGCA cancels or usually recall the mid-air flights in cases of medical or technical emergencies. So here, the DGCA regulations have been violated by some officials under the garb of a hawk's call. So this needs to be investigated. We are not I'm not suspecting the decision taken by at that point of time any DGCA official. But the question herein is, flights are, when the DGCA rule says the flights are usually recalled mid-air only in cases of medical or technical emergencies, then from Port Vale it came there. That's the one question which needs to be investigated. Number two, as you rightly said, police must inquire on the aspect that who was the caller, who called the police, and only on the basis of a call without any written complaint, how that caller came to know that these gentlemen are flying to Bangkok, and immediately case was registered, because without registration of the case, unless a decision taken by the high level officials of DGCA, flight won't be returned back. Number three, where from this 75 lakhs was paid? I do agree with KV Dhananjay. Yes, my brother is there, is a lawyer. We practice in Supreme Court. That yes, Bangkok is a very good place. I do agree. Even I have not gone there, but Vineet bhai have told me number of occasions that Bangkok is a very good place and we can go and visit there. But the question, Dhananjay bhai, would arise when the politicians misuse their position. Why we as a citizen can't raise this issue? When we go to the police station, police doesn't register the FIR. When a former minister's son visit to the Bangkok, immediately FIR is registered, flight is returned back. CISF went to the chartered inside the flight and take them back. That's the abuse of the power, abuse of the machinery. That's the question which needs to be understood by you and everyone. How the provisions of the Indian Penal Code or BNS are being misused, abused for their personal benefits. And when the new law says that the similar action will follow if a complaint comes to the false, the what action would be taken, as Vineet bhai rightly said, against the person. Whether this call was made by Mr. Tanaji, former minister, then what action would follow? If not, then of course the politicians are misusing it. The question is of the abuse, misuse. Now, important point, 75 lakhs, the younger children who are school going children might not have earned. It would be the money from earned by their parents or given by some of that resources has to be looked into. And if it is so, whether the ATC or the chartered flight owner took money from the cash, if 75 lakhs, that is prohibited under the new law, otherwise also, or it went from the check, then how it went. So there was a complete theory which is to be revealed. It should not die. This theory must come into, so that tomorrow no one should abuse and misuse that position, and message should also go. This is what as citizen we are asking. Yes, Vineet bhai, over to you.
You're absolutely right. This obviously brings in concerns related to how money is spent and how in fact it is used or misused, if we can call it that. But we've run out of time. Appreciate everybody who joined us for this insightful debate and the perspective at large.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.